Come with me as we realize a dream that's 25 years in the making. Let's unbox a snare drum. Alright guys, well today, just like the title suggests, we are here to unbox the Pearl Ultracast aluminum snare drum. And I am so stoked on this, you guys. This is a drum I've been wanting to open and play and have in my studio for 25 years. That's right, 25 years. Yes, I'm very, very old.
You're so old. Where's your wife? Go home to your family, dude.
In fact, when I first had this idea, the title of this video was gonna be 15 years because I could not do the math and realize that I am an old man. But, guys, after 25 years, I have the drum. It's in the box, it's right here. Now, to give you just a little bit of backstory on this, the year is 2001, and Pearl announces the Ultracast snare drum. This is an aluminum snare drum, matte black, tube lugs. It looks incredible in a 6.5 and a 5.5 size, 14 inches of course. But here's the kicker. At this time, I am fully invested in Slipknot and Joey Jordison. In fact, let me show you a quick clip from the Disaster Pieces live concert DVD that Slipknot put out in 2001. Now, clearly, that is not the Ultracast snare drum. In fact, it has a big old vent hole right there in the front. That is clearly an Orange County drum and percussion snare drum that Joey had with his OCDP kit that he was using for that tour. But in my mind, because again, I was 10, 11 at the time, I thought that was the Ultracast snare drum, and I was like, oh my God, that thing sounds incredible, and I was obsessed. I wanted that snare drum so bad, but I could never afford it, and I was still pretty relatively new into playing drums, only about 3 or 4 years at that point. But that drum sat in the back of my mind like the One Ring for Smeagol. Sorry, but that drum sat in the back of my mind as something I always wanted to have on the kit and always wanted to play. I love aluminum shells, I love Pearl snare drums, and well, I just never got to have it. As most of you guys know, I put the sticks down in 2012 when I went off to, of course, raise my daughter and work the corporate life. And in 2013, Pearl decided to stop manufacturing the snare drum. So again, to find it, you could only find it used, and a lot of the used ones were pretty beat up or really expensive. It was hard to find it, and I thought that dream might be dead, and that I was gonna have to close the book on ever having the Ultracast snare drum. But then, Pearl started remanufacturing them in 2024. When they announced that they were bringing them back, jumped out of my seat. I was so excited for this snare drum, you guys. Again, it's a 3mm aluminum shell with 5mm rear rings, tube lugs, all black. I mean, come on! This thing is so awesome. 25 years in the making. And guys, today, we have the drum right here. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna bring the box and put it on the desk, and then we are going to open it and finally see the Ultracast snare drum! But first, I would like to say a big thank you to today's video sponsor, Sweetwater. They are the best place to go for all things Pearl drums, whether it's snare drums, drum sets, hardware, pedals, rack parts, whatever the case is, they have it all. And I'll have it linked down below where you can pick up this exact same snare drum as well as any other Pearl gear that you may be interested in, as well as really anything drums. They have a huge selection of drum equipment that you can pick out and try for yourself. And of course, this Ultracast snare drum is one of those items that you can pick up in either the 6.5 or the 5.5 configurations. So make sure to hit the link down below and check these things out for yourselves. But again, big thank you to Sweetwater for sponsoring this video. But I think we're all tired of hearing me talk about how old I am and how much I've wanted to have this drum. Let's open the box and let's get into it! And here is the box. Like, as I mentioned before, we have a Pearl snare drum here to unbox today. All right, so now it's time to get inside the box. But wait! In order to get inside the box, we need some help from Talendorf! Okay, let's go ahead and check out this drum. First, we have this little pouch. Usually, these have a nice Pearl drums drum key inside. Oh yeah, there it is. So this right here is that awesome pearl drum key I was just talking about. Really premium, it's nice and shiny and glossy, and again, really nice. It just feels good in the hand. But we're here for the piece de resistance, the snare drum itself, the incredible aluminum monster, the Ultracast. Let's get it out of the plastic and take a look. Oh yeah, dude, look at that. This thing is so cool. I like to think of this drum kind of like Joey Jordison's signature snare drum, but it's big brother, because this is a 14 by 6.5, where his is a 13, and his is steel, but this is aluminum. But you can see here's our SR 1000 strainers, but this is the butt plate where you can actually dial in your snares right here. We have the nice pearl tube lugs. Oh, but here we go. There's the Ultracast logo on the snare drum. It's an aluminum shell. Again, just really, really sick. It also has the pearl super hoops. They're triple flange hoops, but they're a little bit thicker. Oh, do you hear that? Let me put the microphone up close. It's got this really cool textured finish on the snare drum itself. Right here is the SR 1000 throw off. It's super cool because there's a button right here. I'll zoom in so you can see it. But you push that in, and then that's what allows your strainer to move. But you can see it won't come undone unless you push that button. So it's really cool. It locks in place, but once you hit the button, boom, and then it's back in place. So it's a really, really cool throw off. But as you can see, the snare adjustment is not on this side where you would normally have that turn knob. That's gonna be over here on the butt plate side where you can adjust how tight you want your snares. And again, there's a button here too. So you push this in and then you can tighten and then you just let go. So right now I'm making it tighter, and then it locks in place. The drum comes with a Remo Ambassador smooth white coated head, very similar to the Joey Jordison snare we just had on the channel. And what you can see there is this drum does have an Remo Ambassador snare side, as well as the Pearl Drums SN1420C snare wires. These are really nice snare wires, as well as a perfectly reasonable resonant head. I am going to swap the top and bottom heads and the snares with Evans and Pure Sound to do our second sound test. Let's see what it sounds like right out of the box, just finger tap. Actually doesn't sound that bad, all things considered. But here's what we're gonna do now. In similar Arizona drummer fashion, we're gonna go ahead and get this up on the kit just as it is right out of the box. I don't even think I need to tighten up the snare wires at all like I normally do. So we'll just get this thrown up on the kit. Then we'll hear what it sounds like under the mics and under the lights and see what we think of this drum right out of the box. Again, no adjustments to it. We'll hear it just as it is. Do a couple of tunings with this stock setup here. And then what we'll do, get this thing dialed in with new Evans batter heads, new Evans resonant heads, and a new Pure Sound snare wire, so we can get this thing dialed in and sounding as good as possible. But God, guys, look at that thing. This drum is awesome. All right, let's get on the kit and hear what it sounds like. I am so stoked to be able to have this drum on my kit and be able to hear what it sounds like under the mics, under the lights, and in the mix. So we're gonna start with snare wires off, and then of course we'll build our way up, but this is stock. So I've not done any tuning to this. I haven't even done anything to the snare wires. This is just stock. Let's hear it without the snares first. And now with the snare wires on, no muffling, no tuning. Oh yeah! All right, so now what I want to do is tune it up just a hair, get it to a place where it's a little bit more even. Right now there's a couple sour spots, and then we'll try that out, and then we'll try it with some muffling. I am a snare weight endorsed artist, so let's throw that on and see what a little muffling does to the snares. Folding this up just a hair, so you may be able to see that from above. Just a little less muffling on here. All right, so now what I want to do is hear this with the stock heads and a song, and then we will change these out for Evan's drum heads top and bottom. All right guys, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna change the batter and snare side heads, and we have brand new snare wires. We have the 14-inch blaster snare wires from Pure Sound. We have an Evans snare side 300 for the resonant side. We have the tried but true Evans ST Dry for the batter side. All right guys, so now we have the drum on the kit, and it has, again, just finger tight right now with the brand new Evans batter head, resonant head, and Pure Sound snare wires. And we're gonna hear what this thing sounds like. Tighten this up just a little bit, get it to a medium tuning. All right, now let's try it with a little bit of muffling. All right, now let's try it high in a high tuning. All right, guys, so it is a new day. I actually, unfortunately, had something I had to run off to do, but we still have this drum in the super high tuning. So we're gonna go ahead and hear it in this high tuning, and then what we'll do is get it to kind of like an ideal tuning, and then we will hear it in the context of a song. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna get this to more of an ideal tuning, and then we'll hear it in the context of a song. Oh my God! And just like that, my friends, that is a 25-year-old dream. 25 years! But it's closed with the unboxing and sound testing of the Ultracast snare drum. So again, a big thank you to Sweetwater for making this dream possible. Again, you guys, I know I already said this at the beginning of the video, but make sure hit the link down below. You can pick up the snare drum for yourself, as well as thousands of other items, whether it's snare drums, drum sets, cymbals, all kinds of gear at sweetwater.com. So make sure, go check that out and the landing page below. While you're down there looking at the links, check out my Patreon, become a member there. Drum set level members get all kinds of perks like giveaways, early releases, name shout outs, all kinds of stuff like these guys right here, which thank you to our drum set members for continuing to invest in the channel, as well as check out our merch. We have all kinds of shirts, hoodies, shorts, hats, all kinds of goodies that you can pick up and rep the Arizona Drummer brand. But before we close up today's video, you're probably wondering, Kyle, what did you think about the snare drum, especially after 25 years? Well, you guys, that snare drum is incredible. But I want to break down this review in just a couple of categories. First, let's talk about the fit and finish. So what I'll say, you guys, is having that 3mm cast shell with the 5mm re-rings, it does a lot for the tonality. It's a very vocal drum, it's very loud, there's a lot of overtones, so I did prefer the sound of it with some muffling. Now, in certain contexts, those overtones are gonna fit really nice, especially once you crank that thing up. It sounded really, really great, but that's just something to be mindful of. With a big, thick chunk of metal like that, there's gonna be a lot of overtones. Now, getting it tuned up, really, really simple. And it should be for the price tag that it has, but it was really simple to get it tuned and where I want it to be. But actually, there's a clip, and I'll cut to it right here, just an audio clip, where you can hear me playing and it actually detunes. You can hear it in the recording. So it could have just been that I didn't lock it well enough. Obviously you could use rock locks. My good friend Anthony Gazelle, he has rock locks that you can put on there. It should hold it in tuning a lot better. Again, take that for what you will. The strainer, really easy to use, probably the easiest strainer I've ever used when it comes to having those locking capabilities. Obviously you're never gonna have an issue where you accidentally turn your snares off. But then also the fact that it's a button to unlock and lock, and it's a button to tighten or loosen the strand, makes it really, really easy to not only dial it in, but make sure it stays there. And last but not least, on the fit and finish, obviously the black finish looks awesome. What I will say, and it might have just been the model that I got, I cut some of this out of the video because this video is already super long, but it was really dusty and maybe a little dirty. It looked like maybe it had been either sitting for a long time or maybe had just some factory grime on it. There was even a little bit of oil on the side of the drum that took a while to get off with wiping. It's fine, it came right off, but again, just something to consider. You might have that when you unbox the drum yourself. And it might have just been that this model was sitting on the shelf for a while, but the lugs themselves needed some oiling, needed some love lubricant. That was really hard to get the tension rods to go in easily once I took them off and put the new heads back on. There was a couple times where I couldn't even use the Evans pull cord drum key because the tension rod wouldn't turn. I had to actually hand turn it, which again, is it the worst thing in the world? No. You know, once I put lug lubricant in there, it wasn't an issue at all, but it is something, again, to be mindful of, that you might need that when you get this drum in your hands, and you might notice some crispiness when it comes to getting the lugs, or getting the tension rods in the lugs and getting it tuned. Now, when it comes to tonality-wise, this snare drum is loud, it's got a lot of pronunciation, it's very vocal, it's got a lot of attack. Sadly to say, after 25 years, it's not the sound I was looking for or really expecting, which I know you're thinking, Kyle, it was a 3mm aluminum shell. What were you expecting? I really liked it, but what I'm coming to find as I get older and as I kind of refine my sound as a drummer, because again, this was a dream drum from 25 years ago. This is something I've wanted when I was still really big metalhead and really wanted to be in Slipknot. I wanted to be Joey Jordison, but as I've gotten older, you know, I've really identified more with just really big, powerful hitting, really big, beefy sounding drums, which this drum is beefy, but it definitely does best in the higher tuning ranges, which is totally fine. I love the way that that sounds. From a feel perspective, having all that heft, it didn't give as much energy back to the player. It really does a good job dispersing the energy out from the drum. And if you're a drummer, you know what I'm talking about. There's a feel that you get from a drum that either you hit it and nothing, it's just you're hitting a drum and that is what it is, or you hit it and you feel like this sense of energy and connection with the instrument. And this drum just didn't have that for me. Again, nothing wrong with it. It's a gorgeous drum, professional level. It's unbelievable, but just not the one that I'm going to be using on the channel moving forward. So I did pay for this snare drum, but I also did return it. And so that's another thing I want to talk about with Sweetwater, is they have an incredible return policy. Obviously, they can't afford to keep shipping things back and forth, so you do have to cover the shipping to send it back. A small price to pay to be able to have it in the room, test it, figure out, you know, maybe it's not for me, and return it. So I do want to say a big thank you to Sweetwater, my sales engineer Darcy, for making that work for me, and again, being patient with me while I tried this snare drum out and realized it wasn't really the best fit for me as a drummer, but I could see why it would be a good fit for a lot of drummers out there. If I were to rank this drum from a scale from 1 to 10, I would give it an 8 out of 10. I mean, it is incredible. It sounds good, a lot of energy, a lot of projection, a lot of volume. The fit and finish is next to none. It is gorgeous, but just, again, not the drum for me. Now, with that, my friends, that's gonna close up today's video, so make sure to like, comment, subscribe, of course, follow me on Instagram. But thank you so much for watching me close the gap on this 25-year dream, and I will see all of you in the next one.